Good morning. This is Gary Bontrager with Mindset Growth Podcast. I am very excited today to be able to do interviews with the folks that were on the Arizona January 22 Mastermind. Regi Miller is going to be co-hosting this with me. I want to welcome to the show Jonathan Beachy. We're going to do a little recap on the January 22 Mastermind that we did in Arizona, and just have a little dialogue about how that maybe affected your life, Jonathan. And the first question I have for you is, what was the high point of your trip?
Well, just being in Arizona for the first time was a highlight for me. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. I like the desert, maybe a little different from some other people, but I like the desert and the brown and the dry climate and stuff. That was pretty cool.
Okay, so it's just an interesting new experience for you. Yeah,
and really the round table there for us discussing things, and just opening up about things. That was a highlight for me. That's always something I enjoy is getting out and just figuring out ways that I can grow. That was probably one of my highlights there as well. So.
Well, excellent. It kind of opens us up right to the next question. So, Regi, I'll let you go ahead there.
Yeah. Hi, Jonathan. All right. Second question was about the round table that we had, and kind of talk about that. Some of maybe the expectations that you had, and a lot of people say, well, I didn't really have any expectations, but what was your takeaway from that round table?
Well, I laid out several things in my life that I struggle with, and but one of the things that I really figured out through that is some of my experiences growing up and so forth might really not be what's really holding me back. Might be more the current events of trying to bring my wife alongside and having her on the same page as me is might be really what I need to be working on. So that's really what I took out of that. So.
That's huge, though. I mean, it seems like, your eyes were maybe open to some things, and at least it allows you to see what changes you need to make, what adjustments, that type of thing.
Right, yeah. Exactly what changes to make. I'm still working on that.
Sure.
It opened my eyes to what I need to be working on.
Yeah, cool. This other question is similar, but it talks about in ways that you felt challenged on the trip, whether it's mentally or physically, however. Anything come to mind there that you can share?
Well, physically challenged. The hike was fairly challenging. That was
no kidding.
That was good. I need to work on going to the gym more, I guess. It wasn't too bad, but it definitely broke a sweat there. So, but as far as the mentally challenged, just working with you guys and going through that book a little bit and then reading more in that book later as well, just being willing to open myself to, what might not be going right or what some of my weaknesses are. Just admitting those and opening up to them is definitely the first step to getting them fixed. So.
Right. Yeah. I love it. Making changes that get you to the next level. And,
right.
And just so the listeners know a little bit, so they know what we're talking about, we kind of had a format of went in a conference room and did a round table, and then after that, the following day, we went out and we were literally on the round table. Though I guess we spent 5 hours in there. It was kind of a long, in-depth session where people could just really lay anything out, and we could work our way through it. And then the next day we went out and climbed a mountain. So that's kind of where the physical exercise came in. And in that process, I think everybody had a good physical workout, but it also kind of let us break up into smaller groups, 2 by 2, and have some more personal conversations there as well, followed up with golf. So if you're listening to this, that was kind of the overall format, and it gave us time to mingle with different folks throughout and not just be paired up with one person or something. That way we could kind of develop some relationships that way too. Anything else, Regi, you wanted to ask on that question anymore? Or
Jonathan, do you have anything more to add?
Yeah, the one thing that I did was right after our round table thing, I just went out and called my wife, and when we talked about several things that we discussed at the round table. That is something that I feel is very important for myself, is I have to take action right away. Because if I don't, I get back, by the time I get back, reality kind of settles back down to the old normal, and it's easy for me to just, leave some of that stuff alone, So that for me, that's something I have to take action right away, or I backslide again. So
I'd love to hear that, because I've been to a lot of seminars myself, and you get kind of the rah-rah thing. But your wife is one that will hold you accountable, if anybody will, right? And so the fact that you were an open book to her, said, honey, here's where I want to change some things. I need your help with it. Need you keep me straight once if I fall back, and then to go back home and put new systems in place so that it does become a habit.
Well, it's an interesting point you brought up too, Jonathan, just the whole fact of accountability. Really, that's what that whole group was designed for, was try to just start a process of change in people's lives. And I think even for us, we're trying to sort out, how do we work with the accountability going forward? What's the positive and best way to continue that? But the fact also remains, we get involved in our daily lives. And I think it's sometimes those that we're rubbing shoulders with every day, whether it be a spouse, a coworker, a business partner, there's those, or even just a close friend. But I think there's times too that we've got to really make sure we have people around us that are going to keep us accountable, because those are the folks that probably know us the best if we truly want to make changes in our life. So it's good to hear that you took action on that. I guess I'll get to the next question, or the last one really. Would you go again?
Oh yeah. I would. I definitely look forward to our next event. I don't know what that's going to be, but I definitely. I feel like I got a lot of growth out of this group, and I think as we move forward, especially keeping the same people together, I think there's a lot more growth there to be had. So yeah, I would definitely go again. That's
really all I have. I appreciate you opening up and taking some time out of your day to visit with us, and we'll certainly be in touch some more. And appreciate your openness, even at the event. You really just opened up right away and kind of helped set the stage for, I think, others who are more shy. So that was just showed leadership on your part, I guess, for you to do that. So I appreciate that. But any closing statements you want to make?
Hey, I just appreciate you guys. I appreciate you calling me today. It's good hearing from you again, and I look forward to working with you more. I think it's a good thing for us, and I think it's a good thing for a group.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, Jonathan. We'll let you go with this, and we'll be visiting with you soon again.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I want to welcome to the show Marcus Yoder. So I guess the first question for you, Marcus, is what was the high point of your trip?
I would say this 5-hour meeting. I guess it was 5 hours, but the event of sitting down with as a group and going through learning about each other, learning about struggles and stories that we've had, each person had from past experiences, and just talking about things on how to overcome obstacles in life and how to become better people. Basically, the self-development side of it was the highlight of my trip.
And I'd have to probably agree with you on that. I think the one thing that was interesting to me was how some of the folks had similar experiences, and then others had completely different ones, but they really affected us a lot the same way. What's your thought or feeling about that?
Yeah, for sure. It was a lot more than I would have realized, I guess. I think it reminded me of we all go through struggles. We've all had struggles, some maybe more than others. However, it seems like there's always someone that has a similar struggle or went through similar things that you have that you can relate with and use that to maybe understand yourself even better.
Right. Yeah, it was interesting to me to see that dynamic unfold, because I think so often we think we're so unique in what happened to us, And many times it is that's the truth. What happened is obviously unique to each of us, but it was an interesting takeaway for me to just realize how vastly different some experiences were, and yet how they affect us emotionally and mentally, and kind of hold us back in life. In all honesty, sometimes. So until we are ready to address them, but.
So the other question was, in what ways did you feel challenged by the trip? And I'd like to add to that as like you talked about some of the things that you took away from it. Maybe what did you implement also since the trip in your daily life? So in what ways did you feel challenged, and what did you do what have you implemented, if any, or that you want to?
Challenged, how I felt challenged, or what ways I did feel challenged, was how I viewed myself as an individual. Things I believed over the years that were nothing but lies. And going through the book that you guys gave to us, or gave to me, everyone else, very much talks about that. And I have experienced that when you start to talk to yourself in a better, I don't know, talk more life into yourself versus positive, instead of saying things like, well, XYZ, this is why I am experiencing this because of maybe the past experience. You got to overcome that and overcome that, and also start talking life into yourself, positive things into yourself. And it's amazing on how much that has made a difference. Since I got back from this event, I've taken a lot more responsibility of getting up quite a bit earlier than the average Joe.
Nice.
And spending a lot more time on, I go through the book, I do meditate. I literally spend more time on myself in the morning than I have in the past. And the difference it's made of my entire day, it's absolutely amazing. I love it, yet sometimes it sucks because sleep is, sometimes we get out of bed and sleep is a little, come on.
Right.
And one more day, can I not just sleep in a little bit more? And that battle continues of I think we talked about this at the event, your conscious mind wants to tell you to go the easy route sometimes. And when I know what is best for me for the future, it's like instantly you trigger your brain to know this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go. And I focus my attention there.
Yeah. I love your drive, Marcus. It's hard to overcome our body, which is it's simple survival, right? It thinks it needs more sleep. It thinks it needs more food. And this is as far as it can go up a mountain because it's so tired. And that's where I would like to hear I think, Marcus, you have a big why, right? Your goal is big in life, and that's what makes you overcome that sleep in the morning. I'm getting up at this time. I know I need to be at work at this time. And it's that prep before work that Gary and I work on so hard with owners and salespeople, is they have to prepare their mind. So how do you kick yourself in the butt in the morning so that you can go through that when you talked about meditation? I'd be curious what else you do.
Well, I'll just be bluntly honest with you. I'm not perfect at it. There's times that I do fail at getting up when the alarm goes off. But I do remind myself at that day when that does happen is, look, I'm not a perfect person. Get over it. Let's move on. Make the best out of this day that you can. And I will do whatever I can that next day to, like, I don't want to experience that again. Because the experience I've had was when you do oversleep, you have that failure thoughts and you start to beat yourself up inside, and you don't feel great about yourself. You don't feel great about the day. You don't feel great about production. However, like, overcoming that is another challenge for me. But back to your question on what I guess that's another drive for me is I don't want to experience that again. So get your butt out of bed and make it happen. I feel like I kind of missed your question there.
No, you did well. You did well. I would, and this is a little bit further off than what we've asked other people, but I love your responses. I'd be curious if you might share, and you can tell me no, what your morning routine is. Do you spend a certain amount of time in meditation? Do you spend a certain amount of time in, doing some physical activities?
I do physical activity. I actually get up at 4 and sometimes at 3:30, depends on what the day consists of and also what time I go to bed. But
Sure.
3:30 is present, but I have done that just because I wanted more time for myself before I did go to activity. Something I had started was I'd get up at 4, and by 4:45, I had to leave to go play basketball, which was my activity for that morning. And I found that to be very exhausting on my lungs, and it's really helped me to be actually quite a bit healthier. However,
Yes.
I've went through some injuries through this whole process of trying to be active in the sports or just some kind of sport to get some exercise. It's been great. And that's probably been the most challenge I've had is overcoming 3 injuries since then. And I'm telling you that my brain, my mind, my body thinks, okay, it's time to just slow down and heal your body. And my wife tells me the same thing. I'm like, can you please tell me no? Like, we want to go the opposite direction. Like, keep going. Like, I'm not going to die. And she said, well, you need to heal your body. I said, it will heal. It's just like, that's what I'm talking about, overcoming the fact that I don't want to become to the point to where, I don't know, I let my body tell me what I need to do. So I know what I want to do. It's just back to becoming the stronger side of that. But anyhow, the activity is I do get up, I read. I actually start off with meditation, just sitting there, start with some positive thinking of the day, positive thinking about myself, give myself self-love, and also reflect on, things that I want to improve on. And I pull out my diary and I write down on things that I want to do that day to become a better person. And it's amazing on how that's helped me. It's just to write things down on how that actually, your brain remembers that as you go through this day, today, as I wrote down things that I want to become better at. It's like you go and talk to someone and you get back. I sit down in my office. I'm like, did I implement that? And it's a reminder for myself. When I just think of it and not writing it down, I don't think I implemented it as much as if I write this stuff down.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then I read, and then I go back to the exercising. After I'm done with exercising, I come home, take a shower, and I go to work.
Wow.
I start my day.
That's awesome. I'm going to just go back and touch on 2 things that you talked about. One is the power of the mind and taking control of that. And at 40% of your capacity is when your mind's going to shut your body down, because your mind's wired to protect you from hurting yourself. And if we stop and think about that, it's really leaving 60% capacity in reserve for us to accomplish things in life. So it's just shutting us down. So for you to recognize that you can push through and accomplish something beyond 40% of what your mind's trying to tell your body the ability is phenomenal in itself. It's kind of a mindset shift that I hope folks really think about, because so often we're so tired, we can't go any further. And, if you just block that out, it's, you can go a long time. I just heard this recently, and I'm probably not going to be completely accurate, but there was a study done recently. They took a rat, put it in a barrel of water, and the thing swam for approximately 45 minutes until it went under. They pulled that rat out, dried it off, put it right back in within a couple of minutes, and it swam for almost 2 full days till it went down again. The only difference was that rat had hope that it was going to survive. And once it knew it had hope, it could last that much longer without any rest. And that's just simply a power of the mind. And it's incredible. When I heard that, I went back and listened to it again because I'm like, did I hear that right? But it's just incredible what the power of the mind will do when we have hope and we're focused and driven on something else. The second thing you mentioned was journaling. The human mind will process 10 to 20,000 thoughts per minute. And there's no possibility for us to really focus on all those thoughts. They just run through our head randomly. I mean, as I sit here and I'm, just visiting, there's a lot of things going on in my mind, right? Just with what's around me. And when we journal, we pour all our focus right down on that piece of paper and pen and what we're writing. And that's a good way for us to really bring our attention in on what we are writing. And it's one way for us to, you'll hear people, and I have a learning disability. It just helps if I write things out because it brings my focus in on that. So for listeners out there, those two things that Marcus is working on is absolutely key to overcome obstacles and to just have success in life in general, is just that self-awareness and understanding what your potential is, and that it's absolutely not what your mind tells you that it is. It's far more than that. Anything you want to add on that, Marcus? Maybe you weren't aware of it, and maybe you were, but of what I just said.
No, I was not aware of the rat, and I was aware of their thoughts. We do have a lot of thoughts, and my mind spins 100 miles an hour, it seems like at times, but taking the time to slow that down and just write down some of your thoughts, I think is important. Or for me, it is. And then overcoming the mind, back to that, is I want to share a story. I was playing a sport for the first time. I've never tried this volleyball stuff. It's not volleyball, fun. It's volleyball.
Yep, that's fun.
And I'm a very competitive person, so I'm all about trying to hit this ball, but I didn't know walls don't move either. They stay there. And I hit them a couple times, and I hit one pretty hard with my shoulder hit it and actually crunched something in my shoulder and went down in my back, and now that thing's all jacked up. And I've been dealing with this since Sunday night, and this is where I'm talking about overcoming my body trying to tell me, just take it easy, slow down. You don't need to go to work earlier. You don't need to get up earlier because the excuse is you have a weak shoulder and your body hurts to get up. And you just have all these thoughts going through your mind. And the reason you can stay in bed. And I tell you, I failed yesterday morning and I was disappointed. And I encourage anyone that is listening is overcoming those doubts, those excuses, those lies of the body trying to tell you that's what's best. There may be a thing that you need to do to better yourself. You may have to lay there and ice it, whatever. But still, I think we need to overcome, or I need to overcome the thoughts of the lies that come in or the excuses that come into from my body side of my mind, trying to tell me to take the easy road. That's my challenge for yesterday and today. So
that's awesome. That's a great takeaway. Anybody should be motivated listening to that. It's just there's physical things that sometimes limit us, but to battle through and overcome those are just awesome. Going to move on to I guess the last question. Would you go do that trip again, knowing what you know now?
Absolutely. I would for sure. I don't know what else to add to that. I love the, I guess, camaraderie. I say that right?
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie. There we go. Thank you. Just have people there, and just you can spill your beans. You can pour out. You can pour into other people. It's really just about building each other up and helping each other through life. We all struggle with things, and you have other people there to help you.
So true. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate you coming on. It's always a pleasure. I've had you on my podcast now a few times, and I just want to thank you for how intense you are about improving yourself as a person so that you can better serve others around you, whether it be employees, family, friends. It's inspiring to a lot of folks, and just really appreciate your openness and honesty with us here this morning. With that, we'll let you go and look forward to visiting with you again soon. Thank you, Marcus.
You're welcome. Thank you, Gary and Reggie.
Thanks, Marcus.
I want to welcome to the show Arlen Yoder.
Hey, Arlen. So this is the first question here. What was the high point of the trip for you?
That's a good question. I guess probably the most stretching thing for me was when we had I'm not sure, was it Tuesday morning when we had the meeting and we discussed, where everybody just opened up and tried to figure out what's really holding us back. I think that was probably one of the high points for me. Really just opened up my mind. I think that was probably the most stretching part of it anyhow.
When you say stretching,
I mean, it just really got me out of my comfort zone, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not the most fun part of the whole deal, but yeah, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah. So what makes us grow though?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
And I guess just a little bit so listeners know, I mean, we just went into a room in a conference room and sat down for, I think it was 5 hours that we sat there, and it was just kind of a time for everybody to just, whatever they wanted to talk about, they could put out on the table. It was everything from relationships to personal experiences people went through, maybe that they felt were holding them back in life in general, as this was geared more towards personal growth, which obviously will affect business growth as well. So when they're talking about that meeting, when Arlen's talking about that, that's what he's talking about. So I'll let you take the next one there, Reggie.
Okay. Yeah, Arlen. So in what ways did you feel challenged on this trip? Maybe even apart from mentally, physically, or I don't know, maybe can you expand on that a little bit?
Probably one of the biggest takeaways I took from the whole trip was its mindset is really huge, I guess. I guess that's probably the biggest thing that stuck out to me. Like it's like we're the only, like I myself am the only thing that's holding me back, basically. Like it's
what you think is where you go, and you're in control of that outcome.
Exactly.
I like what you brought up though. They say that you remember about 10% of what a speaker might speak about. But the stuff that Gary talked about, that Wayne talked about, and that I talked about was, it was just that. It was mindset, and it sounds like you've taken it to heart.
Well, let me ask you this question, and then we'll let you go. So, as I know you're a busy person, would you go again?
Yeah, I'd definitely go again. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's what we'd like to hear. I think it was a good growing experience for all of us. So I really appreciate you coming on, just giving us, 10 minutes here of your time, and appreciate your feedback on it. And it's fun to hear that the impact that it had in your life. So with that, I'll let you go today, Arlen, and you have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
I want to welcome to the show Joe Miller. And I guess the first question I have for you, Joe, is what was the high point of your trip?
The high point of the trip, I would say for me, was connecting with what I would say people that are smarter than me and learning from them. That would be one of the probably highlights of the trip, but then also the hiking part and stretching your mind to go further than what you think you can.
So that was an exercise that physically put some little strain on you.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. It's we've heard some good comments on that about the hike. kind of sets us up for the next question, Reggie. I'll let you go ahead with that.
Yeah. So, Joe, was the meeting, that roundtable meeting that we talked about, was that what you expected? You can maybe kind of share if it wasn't what you expected, but what your takeaway was.
I didn't really have an expectation. I went into this with more of an open mind. I was not really, I didn't know how many people there were going to be. I didn't know really for sure what it was. I had a general idea, but I didn't really have an expectation. I did, however, really, really enjoy that round table meeting. One thing that I took away from that was you go, no matter where you're at in life and what you're going through, there's always people that have already gone through that. So being able to connect with those people and learning what they did going through that is just a way of basically learning from other people rather than having to go through it yourself.
Finding some similarities. Yeah.
Right.
That's interesting. It's helpful to see that. And then sometimes it's a crutch, right? But it's good to see that you're not the only one doing it. And then, well, what do I want to do about it? And it also allows through a mastermind, the accountability. Because I know while you were sharing, another gentleman in the group said, man, I can relate. And I don't know if you guys have talked since to hold each other accountable or to help each other through that. But I found that interesting.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
I was just going to spin off a couple questions a little bit on that, I guess. We didn't give you guys any idea of what to expect. Was that something that you felt was beneficial, or would have it helped to have a kind of a pretty good rundown of how the course of events were going to go? I know some people like to know exactly what's going to happen so they can prepare for it. I myself I'm probably going to be a little more open if I just walking in and, just have to kind of somewhat impulsively work through some of it. So what was your take on that?
For myself, I like the idea of going, I can adjust and adapt fairly quickly. So going in with not really having an expectation on what is going to happen, that wasn't really a problem for me. That's kind of more of an excitement for me because I don't know what to expect.
Oh, that's good. Sounds like you're a little bit of an adrenaline junkie then, right?
Slightly.
Joe, in what ways were you really challenged? When you maybe challenged at the event, and then what you took away from it and maybe implemented in your life? Do you have anything that comes to mind that you can share there?
I would say there's probably one of the things that I was challenged with was morning routines. It's something that I'm working on myself now since then, is how to, for so long I would get up in the morning just before it was time to leave, and it was just up and out the door.
Right.
Since the mastermind, I have a couple books that were introduced to me there, to audibles that I've listened to. Can
you name those?
The one is Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Nice.
The other one, Miracle Morning.
Awesome.
I just started, actually. I'm on chapter 3.
Okay.
On that, which has gotten me to where, this morning I woke up, it was 20 degrees outside. I just had gym shorts on and shoes, and I ran up the road and back. It wasn't far, probably, 500 yards up the road and back, but it was enough to get wake me up.
Shock your body.
Right. That's one of the things that I really did take away from there, was the idea of getting your body flowing in the morning, waking up, instead of just waking up and, flowing into the day. taking control of your morning rather than having the events take control.
Having your body take control of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I love your drive and your energy.
How does that different change in routine in the mornings made a difference in how you function during the day?
For me, it has definitely, I can tell if I wake up in the morning and I do something like that, I do an activity. If I'm up at least an hour to an hour and a half doing exercises, doing an activity before I actually start my day, it makes me, I would say, like I stay more driven through the day.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than if I don't do that, I tend to just kind of go through my day and I'm not as driven, I would say. I'm more trying to play catch up on my day and activity than if I get up and I'm up and do them activities. It's more of me, like I feel like I have control of the day and control of my schedule.
So it really just makes a difference in your motivation throughout the day and also just how intentional or focused you are.
I would say so, yes.
I guess the last question that I have for you, and I might even add a little bit to it, my question is, of course, would you do it again? And then follow that up with maybe the reasons why.
Absolutely, I would do it again. I would say one of the reasons why I would do it again, I'm a strong believer in surrounding myself with people that I want to be like, or people that maybe I can share something that I've gone through that might help somebody else. That's people that want to go places, people that aren't just okay with just going through life. And that's one of the biggest reasons, like, that's why I would do it again.
That's a great answer, because I think what we find is anybody who's going to spend the money to do an event or a trip like that is obviously somebody who is motivated and wants to push themselves to a higher level of accomplishment, maybe, even just a better place mentally and emotionally for their personal life. So it's kind of what we see. That's a great takeaway, I guess. We often hear the saying or the phrase, maybe birds of a feather flock together. And if you don't like the results you're getting in life, you might need to find a new group of birds to hang out with. So I think if you want to be an eagle, you got to hang with the eagles. So that's I really appreciate you saying that, I guess. Anything you want to make in a closing statement?
Not really. I would just say if anybody's thinking about doing this, stop thinking about it and just do it. That's what I've found is a lot of times if I overthink things, there's no reason to do that. Just do it, and you're gonna later on, after you did it, you're gonna be like, why did I even wait this long to do it?
Well, thanks a lot, Joe. I appreciate that endorsement, and appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on here and just open up about some of your personal experiences and how that's affected you and changes you've made. So appreciate that and hope you have a great day.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary and Regi.
Thanks, Joe.
And I want to welcome to the show Robert Miller. First question I have for you, what was the high point of your trip?
The high point of my trip was the deep dive session, I guess I would call it, and simply just the conversation times with coaches and peers that were on the trip.
I'm not surprised to hear that answer because everybody has said that. So it's interesting good to hear that, because as we try to plan for more of these, we certainly want to know what people enjoyed and what was, what affected them. Regi, I'll let you go ahead on the next one.
So, Robert, any challenges on this trip? Like in what ways, what part of this trip maybe challenged you the most, whether it was physical or the round table that we had? Have anything that comes to mind that you're willing to share?
I would definitely say the round table discussion. And I guess I was most challenged with learning to listen and listening to ask questions. I guess that was my biggest takeaway and challenge.
Yeah. So since that event, do you have any experiences that you can share that where you've implemented that or tried to implement?
Yes, I've tried to implement it, and I guess there's times when I try to do it and it's still not a natural thing, or it's not something. Basically, I guess awareness was created on that trip, and I catch myself thinking about that concept.
Yeah.
After conversations more than I don't have a specific incident, but I recognize that I'm way more aware of when that's happening.
Yeah.
Than I ever was before.
Yeah. So what you had there was an experience of personal growth for yourself. It's something that this event was, I don't know how many weeks ago now, but it's still top of mind for you. And it's something that you're working on and trying to implement in your life.
Correct.
So yeah. Good.
All right. I guess a question I have for you is, would you do it again? And if so, why?
Yes, I would do it again without hesitation. The why, simply just to become a better person or work on the deep stuff inside of me, I guess, personal development. That's the big why.
Because one thing, and just so listeners know, this trip was really focused on personal growth. Obviously, Regi and I both coach and work a lot with businesses and in different aspects, but this was designed just for personal growth. And as you think about that, Robert, how do you feel like if you grow personally, that's going to help you, hurt you? I mean, what's that going to do for you in your day-to-day business life?
In my day-to-day business life, I personally believe that if I grow personally, I'll be able to lead with more authority or even confidence.
That's huge. Confidence is a huge, huge thing in all of our lives. And I think so often that's what holds us back is maybe the lack of confidence. So I'm excited. To me, it's exciting to me to hear you say that word in particular, because I'm sure you can think back to times in your life when you lack the confidence, and you can see those results, and then you see others where you went in with some confidence, maybe still shaking, but it had a better result. So can you attest to that?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll just go back to our very first conversation between Gary and I. I think you can say that I was less than confident in that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of change and growth in you, Robert, over the last year and a half, 2 years now, probably. And it's exciting to see, because your mindset and your whole how you think is so different than what it was back then. So I think as we open up our mind to new ideas, possibilities, we can start to see that we can accomplish things that we really had no idea were even available to us. Well, thanks, Robert, for coming on this. I really appreciate it. Just want to thank you for your time and what you've shared here, and hope you have a great day.
You're welcome, and thanks to both of you for what you've done in my
Absolutely.
life.
I want to thank each of you for joining the podcast or the show today. As you can tell, this was a very impactful event. If you want more information about it or know how to get on to the next one, you can go out to our website. You can listen to this on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. And just go out on the event or out on our website, contact us. We'll be happy to get you signed up and get you information about it and keep you informed when this next event is happening and what you need to prepare for it and to bring on that event. Look forward to seeing you the next time.